Hello, hello, and welcome to the one before last Faust Normalized series episode. Today's feature, JD, as promised, on time. JD is very well associated with the C's Afro Neuron activation for Faust. But it has a few more uses than just lighting up an Afro, so we're going to try and cover them in this video. As always, we're going to cover first the basic info, startup damage, like recovery, all the normal stuff. What can you cancel into? Then we're going to go over a few uses. What do you do when it's blocked? What do you do when it's blocked in the air? Etc. All these things like the neutral uses. And at the very end, we're going to cover combos, which hopefully, as always, I'm going to try and keep to not 50 minutes. But I will probably fail. So with that in mind, let's get started. JD is a high damage button, okay? And that's important because we want to shove it in combos as much as we can, especially as like enders or if we can cancel from it. So it's a 45 damage move. Let me try and show that. See, 45 damage. Really nice. Better than Close Slash, better than JH, better than JS. Better than 5H. So, very good button to deal damage with. It only lose the 6H and Charge Dust, basically, as you can see. So, really nice button to deal damage with. Okay, better than Frost. I'll stop now. So, it has 13 frames of startup, which is one less than JS, but slightly more than JH, 4 more than JH. So a bit on the slower side, but still pretty solid. It has 6 active frames, which is really nice for this kind of button. Okay, very nice. 6 active frames makes it very useful for doing Oki and safe jumps. It has 23 frames of recovery, which is basically don't whiff this button kind of warning sign. That's a lot of frames. This is more than like an entire JP, if you remember, which is just like 17 or 16 frames. So yeah, keep that in mind. JD, don't whiff, okay? Once you do like a JD, see, like nothing comes out. Okay, so no whiffing. It has no Gatling, so it doesn't go into any other button, but you can cancel it into specials, such as Love and Mix. Mix will not combo from it on hit, but on counter hit, you can make a combo. You can, though, jump cancel it and air dash cancel it, which will definitely be useful. We're going to cover it in the combos, since you do use it quite a bit. With that said, when do you use JD? So one of the obvious things that come to mind is Afro, okay? Afro and safe jumps. So let's tell our opponent to block, which again will not simulate an opponent in real time. So one of the most common uses is, did I tell him to mash something on wake up, mayhaps? Yeah, there it is. Okay, so one of the main uses is doing safe jumps, and you can do it either from Afro. Afro is auto time, you don't need to do anything, just an IAD into JD, as you can see here, and it safe jumps for you. Or you can do it from a close slash OTG. And last week, or last episode, I should say, we did JH, but you can also do it with a JD if you drift down slightly. Okay, that's kind of like the rule to make it work. In just a moment. It's getting hot in here because of all the flames, of course, but also because it's summer and the heat is unbearable where I live. Anyway, so use it a lot for safe jumps, and actually JD is a preferable way to safe jump in most cases, since JH, as I covered, has a few weaknesses, such as being able to be low profiled or 6 feet on wake up. Even though you don't get hit, you do lose your turn. So JH has these kind of weaknesses, JD does not. So JD is really nice. It is a slightly lower attack level, but since you're drifting down to the ground a bit more, like this, it makes it like still very plus. You can like do a true block string into close slash, and that's in the end mostly what you want to do. Let me just show this. See, as you can see, right? Doesn't come out. And you can frame trap things like 2S. So very nice button. I use it a lot for safe jumps. Okay. I have a video on safe jumps, so I'm not going to cover all the things that you can safe jump from or with. So you can go check out that video if you'd like to. It's somewhere in the channel. I don't have a lot of videos, I don't think, on safe jumps at least. So that's one use. But as I mentioned, it also has a specific use with Afro, which is lighting the Afro up. Now, you can light the Afro up with a JD on the safe jump, but you can also light it up afterwards. Opponent failing to block a JD when he has Afro will result in him exploding and you getting a nice little combo like this, right? You can do these kind of combos to keep the corner, or you can choose to break it with I don't know, a different combo. Yeah, I'm not covering Afro combos in this video, but of course I will be dropping them if I do try to do them, because it is training mode. I'm doing a counter hit combo. It's my bad. Okay, I need to prove I know how to combo from Afro. For example, you could do a close slash JD there too, and then land 6H. Anyway, yeah, you can do a lot of different combos from it if they do not block it. If they do block it, you have a few options. These are covered as well in the Afro pressure video. Like, well, what are your options? So you can check out that video if you're interested in upgrading your Afro pressure. But yeah, JD is used to burn the opponent's Afro, and that's very important because if the opponent is with an Afro, you can choose not to light it up, and in turn have always the threat of a rising JD. So you can do something like this, but you can always go into a rising JD or a rising JK and burn the Afro up, gain a combo. Okay, so that's like a use for JD. Another use for JD is landing with it. And when do you want to land with JD? Okay. Basically, I mentioned briefly in the JS video that sometimes you'll want to do something like this, since JS does not extend your hurt box very much. Well, JD is slightly more than JS, but since it's more active and it hits deeper, it's a bit more consistent to land with. So you'll see sometimes like an opponent will maybe do something like spam 6B, right? Something like this. Is he doing it? Yeah. So you can, as you can see, I'm not trying to time it even. Like, you can just get like hits like this. See, you could counter hit him even just because of how deep JD can hit. So these kind of situations, yeah, you want to keep them in mind. Make sure you do try sometimes, right? The trade is not great, but it could happen. Just if you find yourself on the air and your opponent is like a big 6B spammer, JD is definitely an option that you can represent. So you can keep that one in mind, as well as doing like an airdash JD in neutral. Again, not super recommended, but is doable if the opponent reacts too late with his 6B. So it will get hit, okay? So you can keep that in mind. So that's another use for JD, the landing JD. This can be also used in some situations from like items. So let's say you get like a weight, even a hammer. Like you can use the JD to get yourself like a reset entrance. Yeah, something like this, right? In these kind of situations where you do get like a weight or a hammer, yeah, it's just like a pressure sequence you can get from an item. Anyway, like these kind of landing JDs are used sometimes. Sometimes you'll do it from an air dash. If you have items, the air dash becomes a bit better because it's easier to control timing. But generally, I think the super jump one is a bit better just because it's harder to anti-air or like air grab or deal with for many characters. In some matchups, it might be better to air dash. So kind of dependent, and also maybe depending on your opponent's habits. Anyway, that's another use for JD. Another use for JD is in neutral, similar to these like super jumps that you saw here. It's another neutral use that you can do is a back air dash JD. And when to use a back air dash JD, okay? Basically, JD is a pretty big button. You can see it like, let me try and do like record run up far slash, right? Let's say your opponent really likes doing these like kind of buttons. So doing a back air dash, I'm trying to show, let me just position risk, recording setting. Okay, there we go. So you can see it like in a lot of these kind of situations where opponents run up and press buttons. It could be like Ram players, Kai players, Soul players. Soul is like less common for this situation, but it could be all these kind of characters that have like these kind of mid-range pokes they want to run up and throw at you. So this kind of like back air dash JD is not bad at all. So you can represent this kind of back air dash JD. The other option that comes out from back air dash JD is J2K, which is also not bad at all. That's in case they're just staying a bit further away from you. This back air dash J2K kind of auto spaces this low J2K, which is relatively safe, right? So that's kind of like the options that you do from it. I also mentioned the back air dash JK, which is also good. I don't believe in back air dash JS. I think it does what JD does a bit worse. That's why I'm not mentioning it. Anyway, these are the neutral uses you generally see for JD. Or again, if you ever have Afro in the opponent, JD becomes a good neutral tool because then you're just threatening to burn the Afro, either from a super jump, an air dash, or just a run of 5k JD. All are solid ways to threaten the Afro burn. Okay, I mentioned JD in a few other scenarios as well. I mentioned it in my 6H video where you could do things like this with JD, so it could be used as like a cancel thing that you do in some situations. Something I do think is kind of cool to know with JD is that if you do get a very close to the opponent JD, you do get a tick throw situation. Sometimes even on FDing opponents. So let me try and show that. Let's say that you're not doing anything when I position reset. Okay, you've done that enough. And okay, so let's say you're getting one of these, right? Sometimes you'll get these kind of like 5Ks into air dash in the corner. It seems like with FD, it'll be a bit hard to show it. So let me just show it first without the FD. So let's say you are getting these kind of like 5k into air dash situations. You can get a tick throw. As you can see, I don't need to move or anything. Just get a tick throw straight up. The same is true if you get these kind of like dash, sorry, not dash, the deep safe jumps. Okay, here it's not really happening. Let me try and show it mid-screen. It usually you can make it happen from the thrust safe jump. It's like more common. So as you can see here, you can get these kind of tick throws. They can be tighter. I'm doing them a bit slow just to show how it looks like, but they can be faster. So just keep an eye out for these. Usually it will happen when you are doing these kind of like high JDs, not when you're doing the lower ones. The lower ones will leave you a bit like out of spacing. Okay, so as you can see, if I drift downwards, it doesn't really work. Okay, but if you're doing this one, it does work. Okay, so that's kind of like the key to knowing if you can do it or not. If you're doing a safe jump that is not including drifting downwards, or if you're doing a safe jump that is like really high, then you can generally do it. Let me now try and show this on FD just for the record. Because it is doable. It's just, yeah. It's just pretty rare that you'll get it on FD. So against FDing opponents, you'll do a bit of a micro dash. It will help you auto time your grab anyway. Right? Like this. It does make the gap a bit bigger though. So keep that in mind. If your opponents like to FD and fuzzy jump, then you may want to just threaten a 5p or a 5k. Okay, so that's like the use for JD for tick throws. Another thing to use JD for is... I'm having a mind blank, but I was thinking of something right before I started this sentence. Another thing you use JD for is in combos. Okay, sorry. I'm my brain is melting a bit. So in combos, and what do I mean by that? So let's tell our opponent not to block anymore, as a real opponent would. So in combos, I showed a lot of times that you have like this kind of like ender as JD. It's a really nice ender. It deals a lot of damage. So it's a really good ender to go with. But also, if you look at my combos, you'll see many times when I have meter, I'll do something like this, okay? And let's learn how you do that, okay? That's called JD BRC, which is basically a JD into an air dash into an RC. So that's how it looks like. So you can see R2 is my dash cancel button. So see R2, and BRC is my L2. So that's how it looks like. When you do this on a mix loop, it helps you create wall break situations very consistently using combos like this, dealing a lot of damage in the process. It's mostly done when you're a bit further away from the wall. You're not sure if you're gonna get the wall break, like this situation. Right? So these combos are really, really important to learn. One, because they're very consistent on all mixed loop starters, okay, which is very, very important, right? So getting that like mixed loop into wall break for 50 meter is very worth. You get extra damage, you get extra meter from positive bonus. So very important option to learn, okay? And that's how you do it. You do a JD. It's either it usually happens from a close slash JD or a 5k JD, right? And then you'll do an air dash into an immediate RC, okay? Like if you do it too fast, you'll get a BRC, but that's how it should look like. Okay, like this, and then you do another JD to land it. In some situations, you'll do a different combo because you want to get like maybe a bit closer to the wall. So let's just maybe try and show that. Okay, so let's say my opponent's all the way up here. Oh, sorry. I apologize. Let me do something like this to kind of show this. I swear to God, this like the curse of training mode will never leave me alone. So you can do JS there. Let me make the example with JS. Wow. I swear I never drop these kind of combos in a game. Okay. First, let's give the example with JD, so I don't go insane here. Anybody who ever watches me stream can attest I don't drop this many combos. So some things you'll do JS or JH to keep a bit more airtime. I don't know why I can't do combos suddenly. It's really weird. Because like JD pushes like the opponent downwards. This is really funny to me somehow. Like it's driving me nuts. But it is pretty funny to me that I can do combos when I'm in training mode. As you can see, you get a bit more air with JS. So sometimes if your combo is a bit low to the ground, or if you got like a 2k low starter, which has a bit worse gravity, like this, right? So maybe you'll do something like a JS to keep like a bit more airtime than JD, which may drop the opponent, especially on heavy opponents. So this is like why sometimes you'll do like JD into an air dash, BRC, but a different move. But generally JD into JD is the way to go. Anyway, that's like a use for JD in combos, either as a ender or just as a combo filler because it deals a lot of damage, or as what we just spoke about, which is doing BRC from it because it's air dash cancelable. Other combos you'll see JD used in as filler is like these kind of jump combos where whenever the gravity is still low, you can get a JD and pop up the opponent. You can see like if I'm doing JD, the opponent pops up. And you can get like these kind of combos, which are really, really nice damage-wise. And yeah, that's generally when you see JD as filler in combos or as a combo tool. And with that said, I think we can move on to combos. Oh, no, sorry. Let me talk a bit about what happens if JD is blocked in the air. That situation is extremely rare. It shouldn't happen to you. You shouldn't be air to airing with JD. This shouldn't be like a case. But sometimes the opponent will have an Afro, and you will try to go for a JD, and they will jump in time for you to kind of like this kind of situation. So generally speaking, as you can see, as with all the other options that we mentioned, an air dash into a JD or an air dash into a JS are very good. They're not interruptible. They're not 6P'able. If the opponent is FDing and they're pretty low to the ground, so they might not be true strings. As you can see, no FD, it's fine. But if they are FDing, they fall a bit faster and they get hit because they're already in like out of recovery. So you can technically make this a true string. As you can see, this can be made into a true string. But up to you which one you want to use. Of course, if the opponent is FDing, you don't really get pressure from this. But you are burning their meter, and you're getting yourself downwards safely. So it's not too bad. But that's generally what you do on block. Otherwise, if you get into this situation on block where you hit them in the air, as you can see, let me show with 5P maybe. Let me show a 5P and I'll tell them to 5P as well. This is so hard to demonstrate like in a game. Yeah, okay. Here you saw this was like a true block string. This can happen. Again, you can probably think to your own games and try to think like how many times did this really happen to me. You'll probably come up with the answer that not a lot, or a lot because you play against really weird players. But generally speaking, you don't have to worry about too much. But this is like the simple answer to this question. What do I do if JD gets blocked in the air? If JD gets blocked on the ground, generally we're plus. So a close slash, a tick throw, 2K to threaten low, a dash 5P, or just a 5P check. They're all good options, generally speaking. Of course, if we get FD'd or IBFD'd, then we're generally getting pushed out. Right, so tick throw is no longer an option, but close slash is still fine. A dash up close slash is also okay. Dash up 5P is also okay. 5P is also okay. 5K loses a bit of steam because 5K in this range is not super great, especially if they, yeah, if they FD properly and you're drifting downwards, 2D can whiff. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Sometimes like JD on FD is not too great, but if you can force the opponent to stop FDing with either fake safe jumps like that, which are also done with JD, or it should be done in my opinion with JD, or with delayed options like the delayed JH we mentioned in the last episode, then JD becomes really, really strong. So you have to kind of vary between these kind of options, JH, the JD, the JPs maybe, they're also used. So you kind of have to vary between all of them and figure out what's best to break your opponent's defense down. Okay, now let's get down to combos, okay? And first we'll go over just normal combos you do with JD hitting. Again, not super common case, but sometimes you'll do a safe jump with JD, your opponent gets hit. How do I combo? Okay, as you can see, if you do far slash 5HH does not hit. So the easiest combo is close slash 5HH. That's the easiest confirm. Put your opponent far away. You can toss an item or two depending on your preference. If you do want to stay close to your opponent, you can do a close slash 2D. That's also okay. Or do a close slash 2S. Mix, mix, mix to throw the opponent to the wall. Be careful. Like getting a mix. Actually, I shouldn't even say a mix loop. Just getting a proper mix, mix, mix is difficult in these situations if you're not close to the wall. So as you can see, getting all the hits to kind of like hit the opponent, it's not the easiest. So make sure you get there as much as you can, but don't just hold forward. Just holding forward won't let you get this kind of like OTG situation. As you can see, I hit him one more time right before he fell out of my mix, mix, mix. Like this. So if you're just holding forward, you'll probably not do too well with mix, mix, mix. If you're doing like a forward into one, then you're kind of dropping them. So it kind of depends on your momentum. Some people use just free like this. Okay, but it also hits sometimes. So just keep that in mind. Sometimes you'll just have to back off if you see the mix is not hitting well. Just take a meaty and let go of the safe jump. Most of the time you'll do this against characters like Zato or HC who don't have DPs or reversals. So you can do that more safely and just collect like a really nice meaty anyway. Otherwise, doing the close slash 5HH is perfectly fine. Doing close slash 2S thrust is perfectly fine. Like this is also fine. Personally, I prefer 5HH because it gives you better frames on item toss since you're canceling the item toss like this. But it's up to you, whatever you prefer, really. At the wall, of course, the 5HH becomes way better. You can get a mix, mix, mix. If you do get like in the spacing to, let me try and show this. Yeah, get like the far slash as well. You can do a mix, mix, mix as well. Which leaves you with the wall being super close to breaking. So if it had just a bit more damage before, then it's definitely going to break. Otherwise, you can do low slash 5HH. And I'm pretty sure you can do 5k car mix to break the wall. Let me try and show this. This is like a pretty rare combo that doesn't really come up. I don't want to spend too much time on it. No, it doesn't break the wall. Okay, it's probably only if you have a little bit more damage on board then. But it's not a super common situation. JD, of course, at the corner becomes the same thing, right? You have the 5HH, which in that case, you can kind of trap your opponent into the corner with this kind of situation. We talked about it in the 5H video. So that's the combo I would recommend, but you can go for whatever you prefer. They're all okay. Anyway, these are the grounded hits. For grounded counter hits, which do happen every now and then, especially if you're doing this kind of like landing JD thing, it will happen against Nago players, RAM players, like all sorts of people either spamming on the ground or just getting hit by this on their recovery with something that is counter hit recovery. So this could be like projectiles, for example. So on this counter hit, you can either get like this kind of like dash up into close slash far slash 5HH string, right? Fairly simple combo, deals solid damage, gives you nice frames to toss an item and be very plus. Okay, so that's like option number one. You can go for a dash up close slash 2S. If you are close to the wall, you can break the wall with that. So let me just do it from about here. See, you can get that dash and the dash momentum. Let's see, do this kind of combo. If you do a 5k JK mix, 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 it will break the wall. Let me just show this. Wait, I'll have to be just like tiny bit closer for it to work on a normal weight character. On lightweights, this is way easier to break the wall there. Why didn't it work there? I'm wondering. Let me just bring him here and do like an easier combo. Oh, interesting. Maybe it only works on light characters. It seems like I'm a frame away since 5k does hit. Okay, I guess you can do 5k mix, mix, mix immediately. Yeah, to break the wall. For some reason, I remembered you can do 5k JK, but it could be just on light characters that you can do that. Light characters and Faust. That's probably why I'm getting confused. Anyway, these are combos you can do. You can also connect J.D into mix, mix, mix. This is very important when you're jumping off opponents' grabs. Like a lot of times you'll punish with a J.D. And if you properly side switch there, then you can steal the corner basically and get the wall like this with like the safe jump situation, which is really, really great for you. So if you are stealing the corner like this, this is a great way to punish a grab attempt, a failed grab attempt. Okay, so keep that in mind when your back's to the wall. In mid-screen, either the mix, mix, mix combo or the close slash, far slash 5HH combo, both are good. The close slash 2S mix is also fine. It gives you this OTG pressure, so they're all great options. Use whichever one you prefer. Let's cover for a moment meter with these options. So let's say you do get a JD like this. Let's do normal hit first. Let's say you do get a JD, right, like this. If you do want to break the wall, getting something like this is perfectly fine. As you can see, I'm doing the mix, mix, mix to push my opponent as much as I can to the wall. So I'm getting my opponent close as much as I can. Then I'm doing immediately a JSJH. Like this, into close slash 6H thrust. It's like a pretty easy way to carry the opponent pretty far, do solid damage from like a JD. You can jump after doing it to keep the height. You don't have to land and jump again. You're back to the wall. If you do get this kind of like JD, confirming from the 5HH is fairly easy. If you do confirm earlier, it's better, of course, but as you can see, it's pretty easy to get a wall break from it. If you do get the close slash pickup, you can do something like this, which becomes a bit better damage-wise, as you can see, 201. So these are both solid options, but it's okay if you get it from the 5HH. There's like nothing too wrong with that. You just don't get that wall bounce. So you might have to resort to ending on a mix, mix, mix. Wait, let me try and show this. Yeah, it also makes the bounce a bit weird, which is why I'm not a big fan of it, but you can still get it, as you can see. I think, let me make sure, because I might be wrong. I think you can do like a 6H thrust there. Like 5k 6H thrust. I just want to make sure. I don't do this combo a lot, then, because this is like a super like rare scenario. I feel like that's what I would do on instinct, but yeah, so you can get 205, which is pretty solid. But again, super rare situation, doesn't really happen that much. If you are the corner and you get this kind of situation because they didn't block a safe jump, going for this into super is probably your best go-to. Very consistent, gets the super wall break, gets high damage. So that's what I would recommend doing in this situation. Epic. So let's move to counter hits, and in counter hits, we're basically going to use all the tools that we learned in previous videos. Going for either a close slash BRC, like we kind of mentioned last week, right? You can do that into the sweet spot to break the wall, which I just did. I didn't fuck it up. You can either do that, or you can do the same combo we just did. Both are just as good. As you can see, because it's counter hit, it breaks the wall a bit earlier, so you don't do thrust at the end. You can do Scarecrow S, or you can do thrust. It's not big damage difference. So both are okay. If you do get a solid mixed bounce, or if you're playing against a light character, you can go for something like this. And yeah, and you do thrust there. It does a bit more damage. Let me try and show it. Yeah, like this. So it does a bit more damage. It is nice to do. So you can choose whichever one you prefer. Both are good. If you are going for the mix confirm, like this, you can just do the JD BRC we just mentioned in this video into this kind of BNB. Again, does very nice damage. This is why I love this section. Really recommend just learning this kind of like JD BRC situation, doing it properly. If you're getting it from counter hit, it takes a bit longer for it not to be a red RC. So just keep that in mind. Anyway, these are the general combos that you'll learn from grounded hits. Let's move to aerial hits. Okay, opponent will now be jumping. And I don't think these are super important to have. Generally speaking, they're not common. So I'm gonna try and keep it short because I feel like we've done a good job. Okay, covering JD. I feel like we've done a good job. But regardless, okay, let's show just like normal hit real quick. You'll see that like on normal hit, you don't really get anything most of the time. You can go into this kind of combo. Basically, it's an air dash into JD. Right, you can get 5k car mix, which I didn't do because I was lazy there. Come on, poser. Do it for the video. You have to show it's real. Wait. Okay, that's only if you're close. That's usually you'll only be in range for 5k car mix. Come on, poser. You can do it. Not only in a game, also in training mode. Training mode has to be my biggest demon. There we go. So this is like a combo you can go for. If you do not like doing these, what's it called? That confirms into 5k car mix, then just going for this JD 5k, getting plus frames and tossing an item, perfectly fine. It deals solid damage, just different Oki, you know, and you get an item out, so could be even better sometimes. So this is how it looks like. I'm not even drifting when I do it. Usually you'll be auto spaced for it. If you are close enough and you're noticing, wow, I'm really close, you can go for something like this into Thrust or into Mix. Kind of depending on what you like to do, right? Something like this or into Mix. Very nice. Okay, so both are good. These are kind of like your normal hit conversions. If you hit it like here at the corner, like I'm pretty sure, like if you don't get like a bad spacing for it, like let me try and show it maybe from here. So you can technically get like a JH in some of these situations. It could be just like a bit when they're like a bit higher. So let me just try and make them high jump. Yeah, like this. When they're jumping in like a bit higher, you catch them like in this height. You might be able to get a JH in, which if you're close to the wall is very nice. It also means that if you're close enough or if they're high enough, you can get a JSJH like this, which will wall bounce nicely into the wall. So you can keep these things in mind. Again, super uncommon. Not going to spend too much time on it. With your back to the wall, nothing really changes for JD. You don't get anything crazy like we saw in some of the other ones, as you can see. Not really that important. You might want to keep in mind that if you're doing like a land in the corner and your opponent is doing like a... Actually, let me try and show this because it might be important. Even though it's not related to combos, but is related to you being with your back to the corner. So if the opponent is doing this kind of thing, let me actually record him. Yeah, doing this. There we go. It could be the case that, yeah, you get hit with this dead zone on JD. JD does have a dead zone. I forgot to mention this in the beginning. But it would be a shame to start recording all again. So if you sticked around, you got to see it, okay? Be careful in the corner when you're doing like a landing JD. If you hit it too like early, you might get hit by the dead zone. Many games were lost to this, so keep it in mind. Okay, back to the combos. That was just a random tangent. Or not random, but like a small tangent. Back to jumping, okay? What happens when we get counter hits? Now, when we get counter hits, we start getting more flexibility on combos. You can simply just land and do like this kind of like super normal B&B. Okay, so see this again. I'm doing a land, close slash JSJH, air dash JH, close slash 6H thrust, which is a normal combo ender sequence into a 6H to break the wall. This is really, really nice damage. You can try to confirm this differently or go into a mix if you want to, but you really do have that time to just land. I really recommend taking it, figuring out your spacing, and going for the best combo that you can. As you can see, you can go for like these 5k JH air dash combos. You can, if you have the time, you can like try and go for these kind of combos to throw the opponent into the wall. So you can do all sorts of things. Like air dash is still okay here, right? So you got a lot of options. I really recommend just landing. You really do have the time for it, so just keep that in mind. As you can see, super simple combos do high damage. Very, very nice. If you're at the wall and you're getting this, going for like the same combo will like not break the wall, because you can do the air dash. As you can see, you're missing like the air dash JH. In order to break the wall there, what you are capable of doing is, going for a 5k. 5k will deal a bit more wall damage. So instead of close slash, you'll do this. As you can see, breaks the wall and gives you a bit more height. You can also do 5k JSJH into a 5k 6H like this. Oh, that, I was pretty sure that breaks the wall. My bad. Well, my bad. You actually can do that. So you should be able to do yeah, this. Yeah, okay. This is a different confirm where you do a jump cancel, right? You jump cancel into a JSJH, then you do a 5k 6H mix. That's only if you really don't like doing all the other combos. Personally, I recommend doing this kind of loop combo, right? 6H, break the wall, get solid damage, 189. Not the highest, but still like very, very good. As you can see, you can do all sorts of loops like this to get like nice damage. So it's up to you, okay? Just choose whatever you find most appealing or just best, I guess. I'll mention one more combo with close slash to break the wall, where you do close slash JSJH, close slash JSJH into an immediate JD, land 6H, deals high damage. If you mess up the JD, you might get side switched into the corner, which feels pretty bad. But if you master this, shouldn't be any problem. Anyway, these are counter hit combos in the corner. Again, you don't really get anything too special. You can like air dash like this to try and get like a side switch. The best way to do it is with JK. As you can see, you can get these kind of like wacky combos, very scuffed. But they are doable, okay? So now the more you know, you know? I don't recommend going for them, but maybe you guys really want to do them, you know? I'm not gonna stop you. You're basically like doing a JD air dash. You drift a bit downwards and you do a JK. It's not auto timed, so just make sure you do it properly. I think like the most consistent way to combo there is to just do like a JH into mix. Breaking the wall from this is like pretty difficult, I would say. Just because of like how the spacing works. As you can see, no really time to dash there. wonder, just like for the science of it, can I get like a delayed JS there? I don't think I can. To hit. Doesn't look like I can. Let me just try like one more thing I have in mind. Nah, I don't think you can get like 5k mix into a bounce. Surely you cannot. Yeah, I don't think so. I show these combos here, then nobody ever does them in a game. Why are we doing them? I think against light characters you can probably bounce there, but otherwise just stick to getting the hard knockdown and or like whatever other Oki you want to get. And the wall that you earned, okay? Yeah, JD doesn't even connect there. Anyway, these are the counter hit combos. If you have meter, use the same combo tools that I showed earlier. If you want to get super wall break, that is fine. Right? If you get like something like this here, and the super wall break, that's perfect. If you're further away and you get JD, you can get like one of these like old combos, right, to carry the opponent to the wall. Let me try and show this one where you actually break the wall. Right, you can do something like this. Right, to break the wall from super far away. Or you can use the J.D BRC, right, to do wacky combos and get more damage. And I think that's about it, okay? Generally speaking, that's about it. Kai can stop jumping. We have one more Faust normal to normalize, J2K. This will be the next episode, maybe next week. Maybe I'll actually get it done this week too. Who knows, okay? Anything can happen. And thank you all for watching. I hope you have a good whatever you're having. And I'll see you around on the next one. If you have any questions, put it down in the question section, comments, or on my Twitch, or wherever you find me. You can just ask me, okay? I'll try my best to answer, or to have an answer. And yeah, bye-bye.